What exactly is JIN preparing for BTS? Why did J-Hope and Jimin's expressions change instantly when they heard one sentence from JIN on their live broadcast? Is this a sign of something bigger, something they don't want to reveal too soon? A secret song? Farewell? Or a final apology? Is this just a jinx? Or are we just witnessing the beginning of something much more emotional, deeper, and more jarring than anyone could have imagined? That question resonated in the heads of millions of armies around the world as a simple live broadcast turned into the most moving and surprising moment in BTS history of interactions since their hiatus. It all started with laughter. The night was light. JIN, who has returned from his mandatory military service, was present on the live broadcast with two of his best friends, J-Hope and Jimin. Their faces radiate joy, an atmosphere full of jokes and warmth. Nothing suspicious. Nothing indicates that in a matter of minutes, that atmosphere will change 180 degrees. But then, JIN opened his mouth, and the world was silent. There's one song that I haven't heard, because I haven't finished. But I made this for us, when we're all back together. This is a song for the seven of us. JIN said quietly. Too quiet, that moment. J-Hope's laughter stopped. His cheerful face suddenly froze, as if trying to digest whether JIN was really serious. Jimin, who was again pouring a drink into a glass, stopped in the middle of the road. His hands trembled slightly, his eyes widened. And with just one word from the genie, their world changed. What is the meaning of the song? And why did JIN keep it secret? During this time, ARMY only heard snippets of news that JIN had written many songs during his military days. But none of them knew that one of them turned out to be very personal and full of emotions, intended for BTS collectively, not for solo, not for the HYB project. Something so intimate, so deep, and holds more meaning than ordinary lyrics. I can't solve it myself. I want to finish it with all of them. All right, continued JIN. At that moment, Jim stood down. He didn't say anything, but his eyes began to get wet. And J-Hope, the mood booster, the happy virus who always knows how to liven things up, that night was just a long sigh.
No smiles. No kidding.
Just silence. A silence that holds 1,000 questions. What does JIN really feel? Is this song a confession? A message? A hidden farewell? Or is it just the beginning of something bigger than just a comeback? During the broadcast, the atmosphere became more and more emotional. The genie did not play the song, did not sing it, did not even mention the title. But the way he talks about the song, it's as if the song is some kind of musical testament. A silent memoir that holds memories, wounds, and longings that never managed to be expressed through words. Hyung, whispered J-Hope softly, are you sure you want to bring this when we all get back? Are you ready to remember all that again? And that sentence made the audience's heart slice, because all of that what J-Hope means is not just about the good times, but it's also about the hurt, the separation, the uncertainty, the tears that the camera didn't get to see, and the promises that haven't been kept. About how they are separated by time, by the duty of the state, by the burden of popularity, and by things they can never say directly. And perhaps that song was the only way JIN could speak from the bottom of his heart. But why now? Why is JIN only revealing this now, when the mood of the K-pop world is tumultuous, when many rumors are circulating about internal divisions, and when fandom itself is starting to feel disoriented? Is this JIN's form of emotional accountability? Or a tacit strategy to reunite the scattered pieces of BTS? It didn't take long for the hashtag JIN song for BTS to dominate the world trend. ARMY speculates, will this be their last song together? Does JIN know something we don't? Even some fans began to worry, wondering, is JIN trying to code that this will be the end of everything? However, this is precisely where the mystery lies. JIN did not give a firm answer. He just smiled a little at the end of the broadcast and said, just wait. If fate permits, you will hear it. And you'll know everything. The word everything resonated for a long time. It's like a secret that's too hard to tell, but too important to hide. Then, the question, what does the genie really know? And why do J-Hope and Jimin look like they already know something we all don't? Is it about one of the members who has already stated that he wants to resign? Is there an internal conflict that has been burning for a long time? Or perhaps this is the scariest. Is this the genie's way of conveying that their togetherness won't last forever? All those questions haven't been answered. But one thing is certain. Jimin's facial expression when JIN says, "A song for the seven of us," will continue to haunt anyone who sees the broadcast. That's not a happy expression. That's a confused expression.
Shocked. Sud.
As if there was something he wanted to say, but he held back because he knew it wasn't time yet. And J-Hope? He just stared at JIN for a long time, as if he was weighing whether he would reveal something or participate in keeping it secret until the right time. But will that time come? Or will we continue to be overshadowed by puzzles that are never solved? JIN's surprise wasn't just about the song. It's about the moment. The way he dropped the sentence was like a slow explosion. Without dramatic effects. No background music. Without warning. But that's exactly where the emotion lies. You don't need tears to touch your heart. Sometimes, one sentence from the person who has been known as the humorist, the funny Hyung, the entertainer, can be more painful than a loud cry. The army can only wait. Waiting for the promised time, JIN. Waiting for the moment when the seven stars reunite. And that song, the song that he said would be the voice of their hearts, would probably be something much bigger than just a piece of music. Perhaps the song will be decisive in whether BTS will continue to stand together or will instead say goodbye in the most elegant, emotional, and unforgettable way. The night, which was supposed to be just a small reunion moment, suddenly turned into an unexpected emotional explosion. The camera is still on. Thousands of comments flooded the screen. But in the room, there were only 3 men who were immersed in meaningful silence. JIN, with his voice always sounding steady, now spoke in a quieter tone, as if afraid, as if in doubt, but also full of determination. I was thinking, maybe this song will never be heard by anyone. But if we don't, who will know what we really feel? It was like beating your heart. Army knows, JIN is not the type who easily shares about his deepest emotions. But that night, he stripped her of all protection. It's not just about the song, it's about the loss. The burden of being the oldest, and the fear that she's kept to herself. The fear that when they all finally come back, they'll no longer be the same. J-Hope tried to divert the topic as usual. He laughed a little, teasing JIN with a light sentence. "You're getting too serious now, Hyung. You usually joke around." But the laughter sounded fake. Jimin didn't laugh at all. He hugged his knees, sitting still. His gaze was blank, immersed in his own thoughts. He simply muttered, "I don't know what to do if we all came back but his heart didn't." Does this mean that some distance is beginning to form between them? A few seconds later, JIN looked at the two of them and very quietly said, "This song contains a promise. The promises we once made, when we didn't know what the world would turn us into. But right now, I want us to remember. Because I'm afraid we've forgotten for too long." J-Hope finally got down. The false laughter was gone. His eyes began to glaze over. He tried to control his emotions, but the tears could not be held forever. He looked at JIN and said, "If it's about that promise, then we have to make sure. This song will be a reminder for all of us. Even if we don't go back to the way we were, at least we tried." What promises do they mean? Promise to stay together? Or a promise they made before everything changed drastically? None of them explained clearly. But those vague sentences were enough to ignite a wave of speculation. Some fans speculated that the song was a form of hidden apology from JIN, not just to the other members, but also to ARMY. Apologies for not being able to save everything as it used to be. Others believe that the song is BTS' last love letter to each other. A farewell song that will probably only be sung once and will probably never be officially released. However, amidst all that tension and sadness, there was one thing that made the night truly magical. Honesty. JIN's honesty, which is usually wrapped in humor, is now stripped intact. He didn't try to hide his fear, his loneliness, and his hope. And that honesty, more than touching, also made everyone realize that BTS members are not robots who just live to look perfect. They're human. They've been hurt. They miss the past. They are afraid of the future. The live ended without much explanation. He said, "This song is not finished, but I want to finish it with you guys when the time comes." And they closed the broadcast. However, the echoes are not over. That night, the army could not sleep. Social media is full of speculation. Fans shared snippets of the live video, zooming in on Jimin's facial expressions, deconstructing Jin's sentences, analyzing J-Hope's voice vibrations. All looking for clues. All tried to understand. Is this the beginning of the end? Or the beginning of a new beginning? Even some old fans feel haunted by a bad. The next day after that live, the atmosphere of fandom was no longer the same. Even before dawn, the topic of JIN's secret song had taken over all digital platforms. BTS's Twitter, Weverse, and underground fandom forums are filled with questions that echo from Seoul to Sao Paulo. Is this the beginning of a farewell they never dared to say? Some senior fans who have followed BTS since the Danger era even wrote tearful messages. They recalled the time when the 7 members hugged while laughing while crying on stage. They remember the first seconds of Jungkook holding V's hand, when Jimin became the protector for the fragile Taehyung, when RM stood at the forefront carrying all the pressure of the world on his shoulders, and JIN, who always looked strong but covered all with the most peaceful smile. And that night, when JIN admitted that he was preparing a song that he called a marker of a time that will not return, all the laughter of the past seemed to turn into a stifling echo of nostalgia. What exactly is the song about? Why do genies call it a time marker? In the live footage that has now been replayed millions of times, Jin's words are not only heard, but felt. It says, "This song, not about togetherness. It's about loss. It's not about the future. It's about a time we can't go back to."
Jimin looked down at the time.
J-Hope wiped her face, hiding her eyes from the camera. And thousands of people behind the scenes, crying together. Some of the fan theories are even getting more terrifying. Some say that JIN may have planned this song long before he was drafted into the army. That he knew there was a big chance the members would change during that time apart. That they will get hurt, move away, or even lose their way. And this song is the last string that he made so that they could still find each other when everything had turned into a stranger. But the most devastating thing is not the song, but Jimin's expression when JIN said, "Then we will all gather." I want us to sing this song first, not for the army, but for our own. To remember who we were before all this became too big and too heavy. Does that mean they have forgotten all this time? Our popularity, pressure, loneliness, and separation slowly eroding who they really are? And why did only J-Hope and Jimin hear of JIN's plan? Where are the others? This question is the subject of great debate. Some believe that JIN deliberately chose the 2 members because of their unique emotional bond. Jimin the emotional link, and J-Hope the balancer in silence. But there are also those who argue that it is precisely because these 2 people harbor the deepest wounds that they never really reveal. This moment gave rise to even more painful new speculations. Is this song a form of JIN's apology to the member who felt he was slipping away when everything was falling apart? ARMY began putting together old pieces they'd ignored. JIN's suddenly agitated voice recording before the concert, RM's words in a speech that sometimes we're only left as 7 bodies, but not 1 heart, to Taehyung's moments of looking blank for no reason in live Weverse. Does this mean that JIN feels guilty for not being able to keep everything intact? Some non-official sources among fans even mention that this song was not originally public. This is a personal song, not for release, but for storage. Like a letter that is never sent, only to be read by those who understand the sense of loss. But that night, JIN changed his mind. He admitted, "If we wait too long, maybe when we sing it later, it will sound like a farewell greeting." That sentence struck millions of hearts. Does that mean they don't have much time? Some of the army voiced even crazier suspicions that JIN may have gotten word from the agency or from the other members that a final meeting would soon be planned. Not a comeback, not a concert, but a meeting which probably won't be there anymore. They mentioned the possibility that HYBE would plan one last event, one final chapter, where BTS would gather to perform the song, then leave. An article posted on a forum. We all know they won't be able to be together forever on stage. But not like this. Not with a faint gesture. Not with a